All right, so for these ones that want me to simplify the expressions, what I want to do here is I want to FOIL the stuff inside the parentheses, and then I will multiply by that 4 on the outside. So first I'm going to do x times x, which gives me x squared. X times 5, that gives me 5x. Negative 2 times x, that gives me negative 2x. Negative 2 times 5, that gives me negative 10. Then I want to go ahead and combine like terms inside the parentheses. So I'm going to have 4 parentheses x squared. 5 minus 2 gives me 3. Then I want to go ahead and distribute that 4. So I'm going to have 4x squared. And then 4 times 3x gives me 12x. 4 times negative 10 gives me negative 40. Same thing for number 2. I'm going to leave the 2 out front, and then I'm going to FOIL. I have x times x, which gives me x squared. X times 3, that gives me 3x. Negative 7 times x, which gives me negative 7x. And negative 7 plus 3, which gives me 21. Then I want to go ahead and combine like terms. 3x minus 7x gives me negative 4x. And I still have 21 at the end. I want to go ahead and distribute that too. So I'm going to have 2x squared minus 2 times negative 4 gives me negative 8x, and 2 times 21 gives me 42. Okay. On numbers 3 through 6, I am allowed to use any method I want to solve. I can use square roots or factoring, depending on what I have. So typically, if I don't have a middle term, I want to use square roots, and if I do have an x term, I want to use factoring. So this first one, I'm going to go ahead and add 4 to both sides. I get 3x squared equals 12. Want to divide both sides by 3. I get x squared equals 4. Then I want to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. I get x on the left, and then because I took the square root, it's going to be positive and negative. Square root of 4 is 2. Okay. On number 4, I am going to go ahead and factor this one because I have a middle term. I'm looking for what multiplies to negative 16 and adds up to 6. That would be positive 8 and negative 2. Then when I'm factoring, I take the stuff inside of parentheses and set it equal to 0. So on my first equation, I want to go ahead and subtract 8 on both sides. I get x equals negative 8. On the second one, I add 2 on both sides, and I get x equals 2. Number 5, I am going to factor, but first I need it equal to 0. So I want to add 30 to both sides. I'm going to have 2x squared minus 17x plus 30 equals 0. Since I have an a term here, what I want to do is I'm going to use the AC method. So I'm going to write out what my a, b, and c are. A is 2, b is negative 17, and c is 30. Then I want to go ahead and do a times c. 2 times 30 is not 80, is 60. So I'm looking for what multiplies to positive 60 and adds up to negative 17. So there is 2 and 30. Those do not add up. There is 6 and 10. That doesn't add up. There is, let's see, what I tried. There is I know 5 is one of them. Let me see. 60 divided by 5 is 5 and 12. 5 plus 12 does give me 17. They just both need to be negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and split my middle term up into those two numbers. So I'm going to have 2x squared. And then this negative 17x is splitting into negative 12x and negative 5x. From here, I want to go ahead and group my pairs. The first set, I'm looking for what they have in common. They both are even, so I can take out 2, and they both have x's. So I'm going to divide both sets by 2x. 2x squared divided by 2x is just x. Negative 12x divided by 2x is negative 6. On my second set, I always want to try and make these positive, so they're both going to be divided by negative, and then I can also take out a 5 from 5 and 30. So I write that in between. I apologize for not giving us enough room. I get x left over. 30 divided by negative 5 gives me negative 6. Then what I want to do is I want to take my outside pieces and put those together in their own set. So I'm going to have 2x minus 5 times x minus 6. And then I want to take each of those pieces, because remember this still equals 0, and set them equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to have 2x minus 5 equals 0. And I want to go ahead and add 5 to both sides. I get 2x equals 5. Divide both sides by 2. I get x equals 5 halves. I want to do the same thing for negative 6, or x minus 6. I add 6 to both sides, and I get x equals 6. On number 6, I can use the square root method, but first I want to get everything that's being squared isolated. So I'm going to start off by dividing both sides by 2. I'm left with x plus 5 squared equals 0. Then I want to take the square root of both sides, and I have just x plus 5 equals 0, because the square root of 0 can't really be positive or negative. Then I want to just subtract 5 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 5. Number 7 wants me to perform the operation and to write my answer in standard form. When I have a plus in the middle, I just combine like terms. So the real parts are going to go together, and the imaginary parts are going to go together. So the stuff I highlighted in yellow gets added. Negative 2 plus 7 gives me 5. 3i minus 6i gives me negative 3i. And that's the answer there. On number 8, because there is a negative in the middle, I want to go ahead and distribute that. So I'll write the first part out. Then I want to distribute the negative. Negative negative 2 turns it into positive. Negative negative 7i is going to turn that into a positive 7i. Then I want to go ahead and look at what I can combine. So the 9 is real, and the 2 is real. Then I'm going to go ahead and combine 3i and 7i because they're both imaginaries. 9 plus 2 gives me 11. 3i plus 7i gives me 10i. For number 9, I need to go ahead and multiply these two together. So this is going to work just like foiling. 5 times negative 4 gives me negative 20. 5 times 7i gives me 35i. 6i times negative 4 gives me negative 24i. 6i times 7i gives me 42i squared. I want to go ahead and combine like terms. I get negative 20. Those two in the middle are going to combine. 35 minus 24 is 11. Then I have 42i at the end, or I squared. Remember, whenever we have I squared, this turns into a negative 1. So then I'm going to go ahead and multiply those. Everything before that is still staying the same. I end up with negative 42, and I can combine that with the negative 20, which is going to give me negative 62 plus 11i. Remember, you always write the real part first and the imaginary part second. Number 10 is combining this, the multiplying, and the adding and subtracting. So first thing I want to do here is FOIL. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4i is going to be 12i. 2i times 2 is 4i. 2i times 4i is 8i squared. Then I'm going to have 6, and I'm going to combine those two middle terms, so that's going to turn into 16i. Oops, I also forgot I still had that stuff after that's being subtracted. I am going to go ahead and distribute that negative while I'm at it. So I'm going to have -3 and then -7i. I can combine some more terms. I have 6 minus 3, which will give me 3. 16i minus 7i will give me 9i. Still 8i squared. I'm going to turn that I squared into -1. Then I want to multiply 8 with that -1, which gives me -8. And I want to go ahead and combine that 3 and -8, which will give me -5. Okay. Number 11 wants me to solve by completing the square. This is where I move over just the constant to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 17. I have x squared plus 16x equals -17. I want to find half of my b value, which here is 16. Half of that is 8. So I want to go ahead and add 8 squared to both sides. I'm going to have x squared plus 16x plus 8 squared equals -17 plus 8 squared. I want to go ahead and find out what 8 squared is. It's 64. On my left side, I want to go ahead and factor. I'm looking for what multiplies to 64 and adds up to 16. A hint, it will always be this number I got above. So I'm going to have x plus 8 squared. On the right side, I want to go ahead and add -17 and 64, which gives me 47. Then I can solve this like a square root problem that we did on the front side. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. This is going to leave me with x plus 8 on the left. I took the square root, so it should be plus or minus. Square root of 47. I would want to factor 47 if I could, but 47 is prime, so I cannot factor it. I just want to go ahead and subtract 8 from both sides. I get x equals -8 plus or minus the square root of 47. Okay. Numbers 12 through 14 want me to use the quadratic equation or quadratic formula to solve the equation. Remember, this is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All of this is over 2a. In order to use this, I need my equation to be set equal to 0. So the first thing I want to do here is subtract 2 on both sides. Then I want to figure out what my a, b, and c are. So a is -1, b is 5, c is -2. I want to go ahead and plug that into the equation. So I have x equals -5 plus or minus the square root of -5 squared minus 4 times my a value, which is -1, times my c value, which is negative 2, all over 2 times my a value, which is negative 1. Okay. Then I want to go ahead and simplify. So I have negative 5 still out front. Then negative 5 squared is going to turn into 25. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4, times negative 2 is negative 8. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Again, I'm sorry for not giving us enough room. I'm going to get x equals negative 5 plus or minus 25 minus 8 is 17. And then negative 2 still on the bottom. I can't simplify 17, and 5 and 2 are not divisible, so my final answer stays like this. I'm going to do the same thing for number 13, but let me draw a line to separate that. Okay. So I want to first subtract 3 on both sides. I have 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 equals 0. I want to list out my a, b, and c values. A is 2, b is 5, c is negative 3. Then I want to plug in. I get x equals negative 5 plus or minus square root of negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 3 over 2 times my a value of 2. Then I want to simplify. I have negative 5 plus or minus negative 5 squared is 25. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Times negative 3 is positive 24. 2 times 2 is 4. Then I have x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 49 over 4. I can take the square root of 49. That is 7. So I have negative 5 plus or minus 7 over 4. I can split this into two equations. I'm going to have negative 5 plus 7 over 4, which is 2/4, which simplifies to 1/2. And then I can have negative 5. Nope, that should have been a minus 7. Over 4, which gives me negative 12 over 4, which gives me negative 3 for my second answer. Same thing for number 14, but this one has already isolated 0 for us. So I want to go ahead and just label my A, B, and C. A is 3, B is negative 12, and C is 13. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in. I get x equals negative 12 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 squared minus 4 times my a value of 3 times my c value of 13. This is all over 2 times my a value of 3. Negative 12 is going to turn into positive 12. Negative 12 squared is 144. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 times 13 is negative 156. 2 times 3 is 6. Then what I want to do is I want to subtract inside the radical. So I have 12 plus or minus 144 minus 156 is negative 12 over 6. I want to see if I can factor tree 12, so I'll do that in red. It's going to be 2 and 6, 2 and 3. So I can pull out a 2. And because it's negative, it's going to also turn into an I. So I have 12 plus or minus 2i, square root of the leftover number, which is 3, over 6. 12, 2, and 6 are all divisible by 2, so I'm going to go ahead and divide all 3 of those numbers by 2. If not all of them were divisible, I wouldn't be able to divide out. 12 divided by 2 gives me 6. 2i divided by 2 gives me I. The number in the radical stays the same, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, on number 15, it says I'm playing a game of horseshoes. One of my tosses is modeled with the equation y equals negative 0.01x squared plus 3x, where x is the horizontal position of the horseshoe in feet, and y is the corresponding height. It wants me to find the maximum height the horseshoe travels, so what I want to do here is I want to go to Desmos, and I want to go ahead and type in that equation. Okay, and then I just want to scroll out so I can see my maximum. I want to click my vertex, and it is at 2.25 for my y value, so that will be my answer. 2.25 feet. Oops. Okay. Number 16 is similar. It says, while marching, a drum major tosses a baton into the air and catches it. The height, y in feet, of the baton x seconds after it is thrown can be modeled by this function. Y equals negative 16x squared plus 32x plus 6. So I want to go to Desmos and graph this one. And then I want to make sure I can see my vertex. I click on it and it gives me 122. Remember, my y value is the height, so 22 is my answer here. 22 feet. Numbers 17 and 18 want me to solve by graphing. So again, I want to go here to Desmos to see what these look like. So I want to type in my first equation over here. I have x squared plus 5x minus 2. And then I want to go ahead and type in the second equation in the second row. So I will type in y equals 3x minus 2. Remember, your solution here is where they cross. Oops, I wanted to zoom in, not out. So I am crossing right here at 0, negative 2. And I am again crossing here at negative 2, negative 8. So if I go back over here, I can go write down my answer. I said negative 2, negative 8, and then I forgot what the other point was. 0, negative 2. So both of these are my answers. Same thing for number 18. I want to go ahead and type that into Desmos since it's equal to y. It doesn't matter that y is on the other side. So I have 2x squared minus 2 equals y. And then my second equation is negative 2x plus 2 equals y. This is 1, 0, and negative 2, 6. And those are my two answers here for number 18. Okay. Then I just have a few more on the next page. This one wants me to solve the quadratic inequalities by graphing. So to do that, I just need to type this inequality onto Desmos. Let's get rid of one of these let's get rid of both these equations. So then I have 0 is greater than x squared plus 8x plus 16. I want to this one is just a dashed line at -4, so there isn't one like this on your test, but it is, I don't know how you would even write this answer. We'll skip this one. Don't worry about that one. I will do the other one though, which should be greater than or equal to x squared plus 6x plus 8. There we go. This one I can write. It's inside solid lines, and if I look, it's in between -4 and -2. So when I go to write my answer on here, it was -4 less than or equal to, because it had a solid line, x less than or equal to -2. Okay. Numbers 21 and 22 want me to solve it algebraically. So what I want to do here is I want to be able to factor it. On number 21, all of these are divisible by 3. So I'm going to divide everything in the inequality by 3. I get x squared plus x minus 20 is greater than or equal to 0. I want to then factor the left side of the inequality. So I'm looking for what multiplies to -20 and adds up to 1. This is going to be x plus 5 and x minus 4. Then I'm going to take each of my factors and set them equal to 0. So I have x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. Then I want to subtract 5 on both sides. I get x equals -5. Over here, I want to add 4 on both sides. I get x equals 4. Then I want to put these on a number line. -5 is smaller, so it goes on the left. 4 is larger, so it goes on the right. Then I want test values. So I want a number less than -5. I'm going to go with -6. I want a number in between. I'm going to pick 0. And then I want a number greater than 4, so I'm going to pick 5. Then I want to take all 3 of those values that I just picked and plug them back into this inequality up here. So I have -6 squared plus -6 minus 20. And I want to still see if it's greater than or equal to 0. -6 squared is 36. Then I have -6 minus 20 is greater than or equal to 0. Then I just simplify. So 36 minus 6 is 30. 30 minus 20 is 10. 10 is greater than or equal to 0. So this one works. I'm going to do the same thing for 0. I have 0 squared plus 0 minus 20. And I want to see if it's greater than or equal to 0. I have 0, 0, because those will cancel out. So then I just have -20 is greater than or equal to 0. That is not true. I'm going to do the same thing for 5. So I have 5 squared plus 5 minus 20 is greater than or equal to 0. 5 squared is 25 plus 5 minus 20. 25 plus 5 is 30, minus 20 is 10, which is true. So, because it's true on the outsides, what I do is I write x is less than or equal to, I keep the line if the original inequality had it, -5, or x is greater than or equal to +4. Same thing on number 22. I want to start by getting that 21 over to the same side, because you want all of your variables and all of your numbers on the same side of the equation. All of these numbers are negative, so I'm going to divide everything by a -1. It's going to turn that into a positive x squared, a positive 10x, and a positive 21. When I divide by negative numbers, the inequality sign flips. So then I have just less than 0. Now I'm looking for what multiplies to 21 and adds to 10. This is going to be 3 and 7. I want to go ahead and set those equal to 0 and solve. The first one, I subtract 3 on both sides to get x equals -3. The second one, I subtract 7 on both sides to get x equals -7. I'm going to put these on a number line. -7 is less than -3. Then I want to pick test points. I'm going to do -8, -4, and 0. Then I just want to plug these back into my inequality. I'm going to plug them into this one with the 0. I have -8 squared plus 10 times -8 plus 21 is less than 0. -8 squared is 64. Positive 10 times -8 is -80. Then I have 21 and less than 0. 64 minus 80 is -16. -16 plus 21 is 5. 5 is not less than 0. Then I'm going to do the same thing for -4. I have -4 squared plus 10 times -4 plus 21 is less than 0. -4 squared is 16. 10 times -4 is -40 plus 21, less than 0. 16 minus 40 is -24 plus 21 is -3. -3 is less than 0. And then I'm going to go plug in 0. So I have 0 squared plus 10 times 0 plus 21, less than 0. That gives me 0 plus 21, less than 0. So it's saying 21 is less than 0. That's not true. So because the true part is in between my two numbers, I write my two numbers with less than x, less than 3. So the two numbers are on the outside, and the x is in between them.